Right, so we're going to talk about this. Belfast, Northern Ireland, where I live. Well, in Belfast, in Occupado Shea, the north of Ireland. Now, I'm going to pull something up, actually, a little interaction that I had on Twitter. Now, we all know what happened, right? We all saw it, and horrific it was. Oh my God. Did never seen anything like that in my life. So, let me find. Yeah. So there's this is a part of the professional commentariat. I'm going to resize that wee window. This is a part of the professional commentariat in America and the way they're talking about what went down. And most of the people listening to this know full well what went down. We're not fucking stupid. We've we've lived with it all our lives, right? So, oh, made that too big. Sorry, if you're wondering what I'm doing, I'm trying to resize this wee window here. Do that, and then there we go. Nearly there, nearly there. Stay with me, stay with me. There we go. So, we all know what happened. Dude attacked another dude. Now, I've heard things about that. Those two dudes knew each other. Uh, Drugs involved. One was from Sudan, one from Scotland. And then a fella went and split the knife man from Sudan with a hurl and put an end to it, and it sparked a series of riots and commentary, inflammatory commentary from all the usual sources, everyone from Elon Musk to Nigel Farage to Tommy 10 Names Robinson and Fox News commentary, like I'm about to show you here. All of it completely fucking rewriting the actual narrative of what's going on and what happened. Now, I am not in any way, shape, or form dismissing the seriousness of that attack. That man has apparently lost an eye and is still fighting for life. Apparently, he was put into an induced coma. And that's how bad the attack was. It looked very serious, and I'm not going to show you it. If you know what I'm talking about, you've probably seen. Well, you do know what I'm talking about, so you've probably seen it anyway. And it's certainly not the sort of thing I would want to see if I didn't have to. So the commentary coming at it from the rest of the world, all the right wing stuff. Oh, Ireland is rising up, civil war in Ireland. Like, I saw Irish commentators, these far right, Kulak says no, fucking wankers that we were protesting against 2 or 3 years ago, saying Ireland's going into a civil war. This is shit. I go, what the fuck are you talking about? And you know what fucks me off about West Brits? Do you know what really fucks me off about West Brits? If you don't know what a West Brit is, a West Brit is an Irishman that has more care for England than us here in the north, right? What really fucks me off about them, they didn't give a fuck about the north. They don't give a fuck about their so-called fellow Irishmen. They never have, and they never do, and they never fucking will. Until something like this happens, that they can milk it. And the word grift in this online commentary space, of which I am a very, very small contributor to, the word grifter and grift is thrown about too much, to the point it's almost become a completely ineffectual word, like anti-Semitism. Doesn't work anymore. Well, grift is getting close to that. But these people are the literal definition of grifter. That's what they are. They're grifters. And by the way, talking about the conspiracy thing and all that, somebody's fucking paying them. They're being paid. There's no doubt. They are being fucking paid. I saw it down in Dundalk When we were protesting, we were the counter-protest to them protesting outside a migrant immigration centre. I mean, people will immigrate here. Asylum seekers, people come here to seek asylum, and they have to be put somewhere until they're processed. They have to live somewhere. So they were protesting against it. We were the counter. You see the video on my YouTube channel, it's there. I was interviewing people on the street and showing you the footage. We all came down with our own banners, our own flags. Their fucking stuff came out in the back of a van. It was all the same, and they were handed it. Somebody paid for that. That's just a small example. A van load of fucking flags doesn't cost an absolute fortune. But these people are being paid by somebody, and I am absolutely fucking convinced Ireland has been targeted. This country has been targeted. I had this revelation last night. When Brexit happened, Ireland was what I described it. Again, you can go back and look at some podcasts. If I could be bothered to go and find them, I would, but I can't, so I'm not going to. I described it as Northern Ireland has the opportunity to become a fulcrum, Ireland as a whole, become a fulcrum, the balancing point between our European Union and the United States, the European Union and Britain, and vice versa, and the rest of the world. All this stuff can happen through the north of Ireland, and by proxy, Ireland as a whole. Ireland can become that place, right? The European Union was sympathetic. They gave us special cutouts of laws that they give to nobody else. We got them. Because of our geographical location and our particularly bloody history, we played the sympathy card and it won. And they accepted. And I remember hearing European parliamentarians talking about it at the time. And because we're way off the coast of Europe, we're kind of, if we were in the middle of Europe, landlocked in the middle, we wouldn't have got these cutouts. But because of our location, they were able to manage these cutouts in an effective way, in a way that it wouldn't damage the rest of the integrity, financial, economic, political, structural integrity of mainland Europe. And we had that opportunity, and it existed for a brief moment. And that fulcrum has now become a wedge. And I remember at the time, I commented on it, there's an awful interest in us, and it was around the time of the last general election in the south of Ireland, when Sinn Féin were projected, Mary Lou MacDonald was projected on all polls, was projected to be the next Taoiseach, the next leader of the country. And there was a full year's campaign. Sinn Féin were getting blamed, and I am sympathetic to Sinn Féin. I used to vote for Sinn Féin. I'm now a People Before Profit member, so I vote for them, just in the interest of clarity. I keep mentioning that most of the times when I bring these issues up. But that said, People Before Profit, my party, including me, we don't run in my borough, so I vote for Sinn Féin. So I am sympathetic. There was a full year's campaign against Sinn Féin. Sinn Féin weren't even in fucking government. And they were getting blamed for everything, from immigration, the housing crisis, that was a big one, Brexit. They were being blamed for everything, dragging up the past with the IRA, and my God, it was relentless. Unfortunately, they did win the election, but because of the system that works in the south, they didn't have enough seats to claim to form they weren't able to form a coalition or win outright by themselves. So the Fine Gael, Fianna Fáil duopoly machine rolled on. The establishment machine rolled on. The fucking day after that election, the day after, it all stopped. Silence. Nothing. Nobody was saying. I noticed it. And I spoke about it on this podcast. That was weird as fuck to me. It was clear outside interference in Ireland's political system and in that election in particular. And these same people, their heads are all up now. They're the ones that are all up now, commenting about these riots and the Irish people right? Now, for those of you that aren't from here, those people aren't fucking Irish. The people that were rioting, the people that you seen out with the masks and the hoods and the throwing the petrol bombs and burning the houses out and setting the cars and the buses on fire. They're not Irish. They're British loyalists. They hate Ireland. They hate the Irish. They hate everything about us. They're also what we refer to in derogatory terms, and which is weird. I'll get into that in a second. As planters, because they were brought here for the plantation of Ulster. So we call them planters. Some people call them planters. I don't, but whatever. And it's not a particularly nice phrase, and some people take offence at it. Now, that's another one. Another part of this whole culture war bullshit. You can't say this, you can't say that. This word's now fucking verboten. And, you know, planters. There's a fucking football pitch up the street from me called Planters Park. There's a plantation road over here in my town, 3 or 4 miles from me. Planters Park, literally called Planters Park, where Dollingstown Football Club play. But anyway, but all these same people are all coming up now. Here locally, the Jamie Brysons. Down south, I don't know who those guys are. I don't know their names off the top of my head. But they're all coming. Ireland is rising. These people are not Irish. And I spent the week explaining that to Americans. And there you can see my tweet on the fucking screen. Every day they show how stupid they are. Let me spell it out. And then I went all caps like Donald Trump. Yeah, I know. These people are British loyalists. They hate the Irish. They hate Ireland, you fucking morons. They came here from somewhere else, much like yourself. And I should have added on to that. And didn't assimilate to the local culture either. The very fucking thing that they're trying to blame Sri Lankan doctors and Indian fucking factory workers, and, right? People from East Timor working in all the food factories around here and sending their money home. Fair fucks to them. I don't know what the fuck they're supposed to do. The government let them in to come and work. They're economic migrants. I was an economic migrant. I've been an economic migrant multiple times in my life. Technically, I probably still am. I go abroad on tour and play with my band for money. So I probably fit that description. But here is Fox News in the United States. And this is the level of commentary that not just was going out on Fox News. Twitter was awash with this shit. Check it out.
Belfast, how they're standing up because their leaders have let them down in their own streets, trying to take their country back. They want to label them as racist or xenophobic. Right. All they want to be is Irish. They want Ireland back.
All they want to be is Irish. Go and call them Irish to their face. Do you see what happens to you? Go on.
And that is what we've been saying for the longest time. So when you see their fight in the streets, and I've never been to Northern Ireland,
no.
I see a lot of the same fights here as they almost beheaded a guy for being Irish by another guy that came from another country, from Sudan, who felt as though they haven't beheaded someone lately, so he thought he'd start then.
Well, sometimes what you're seeing in Northern Ireland is they feel
Northern
like,
Ireland.
and this is just my opinion, they feel like that maybe the...
By the way, Yanks, stop calling our country. Just stop saying keep our country's name out of your fucking mouth. Ireland. You're making me boke.
The administration and their politicians doesn't have their back. The American people know that President Trump and this administration has their back. We're pushing against them. The Biden administration is the ones that caused this problem on our streets. We're fighting every single day to clean this mess up. We're chasing the criminals down. We're getting the worst of the worst, and we're going after them with the best of the best. Our employees and law enforcement and DHS literally emphasize the best of the best. Keep in mind, they've been shut down 4 times over the last year by these radical Democrats. President Trump now has finally funded them for 3 years because of his vision in that, and they were willing to do their job.
Okay, he's waffling on about fucking ICE and all that sort of stuff, but you get my point. This is the level of commentary that is available. Now, these people aren't journalists as well. We must add that. They're fucking... They can read a teleprompter and they look good in a suit. And they have a nice haircut. And they're white. Right? And for those of you that don't know, let me just explain this thing. These people are British. They're not Irish. I'll explain it again, I should say. They fucking hate us. They don't want us. They came here... They're 400 years ago, roughly. Not all of them, obviously, but, you know, that's when that started, the plantation of Ulster. And by the way, Google is your friend. Go and do a bit of a history lesson. And then when Ireland was partitioned after the Easter Rising and then the partition in the 1920s, where Ulster, Northern Ireland, the 6 counties got carved out and became a part of the United Great Britain of Northern Ireland, the UK, right? That's what happened, and it was a Protestant Ulster loyal to the British Crown, majority of people, and they all lived there. Not all of them, but that's the most of them. That's why that was carved out, because most of them were living there around Belfast. That was the one of the industrial part, the only part of Ireland that was industrialised. And they live there to this day, and they live here to this day, and that's why we have Northern Ireland. But these people are right-wing loyalists, loyal to the British Crown. They're fascist. They're racist. He said, you're trying to label them as racist. They are racist. It's inherent in their fucking ideology. Not that any of them could spell ideology. From an organisation called the Orange Order, right through Google them. They were actually formed in Tandragee, just a few miles from where I live, in the beautiful County Armagh. Check those fuckers out. You see that what they're for and what they have done. And by the way, this, again, not to detract from the horror of that attack. It was horrific and it was awful. And I really do pray for that man and hope he's going to be all right. Don't see how it could be, but, you know. And that dude, whatever the fuck it was that possessed him to do that, I hope he gets a bit of help too, but I hope he's kept off the streets and put into a prison cell for a long time. Now, probably some mental health institution based on what I saw. But my point, this is my point. Every fucking summer this happens here. Every year. When we start to get into the summertime, they kick off. The loyalists, they kick off. They do this every year. Anything that happens is the trigger. Last year, it was there was a 2 young men were convicted of raping a girl, and they were put in jail. And that was, again, another horror show. And nobody wants that to happen. But they then use that as an excuse to kick off. And there's a reason, because every fucking summer, the loyalists and the Orange Order take control of all our streets and go marching around the country playing fucking hateful songs about killing us Irish Catholics, us Irish nationalists. That's what happens here. Now, if this fucking dildo Brian Kilmeade, who's obviously of Irish descent, which is, I'll skip him back there, there's Tit on the right, ever bothered to come to Northern Ireland to find out about this stuff, he might be able to put everything in context. But that initial snapshot of a dude looking like he was trying to cut somebody's head off, and he did very much look like that, and then the backlash, I don't want to call it back, the riots that happened, those riots were probably going to happen anyway, or a version of them. Again, not to detract from the horror of the crime. So, everybody's rising up now. Ireland's free. Ireland's trying to free itself of its leaders, of all the bad things that's happening in the world, and everyone is putting The eye of Sauron on us. All of a sudden we're interesting again. But here is the true fucking story. This is why assholes like that can say the shit that he says. And this is it. And I said this, I'm linking this right back to that thing that I noticed in the last general election down south, whenever Sinn Féin were blamed for fucking everything. This is from a commentator called John Crotty, pioneer historian, author and speaker, leader authority on the Irish tricolour, Irish symbols book, out now. See highlights for top thirds. Actually, I might buy that book. That sounds interesting to me. But anyway, the lies told about Ireland in no particular order. Now, pay attention to this. Ireland has seen a staggering amount of online interest and interference over the past 5 years. To the point, it now has the world's highest external malicious bot traffic. Right? 71% versus 35% for the US, for example. Here are some of the regular falsehoods. A famine, a scarcity of food caused 1 million deaths in Ireland between 1845 and 1851. Not true. Over 4,000 ships carried food from Ireland in 1847 alone. The famine's worst year, as we call it here in Ireland, Black 47. Over 3 million livestock were exported, 1846 to 1850, 6 million quarters of grain, etc., etc. You get the point. While avoiding all deaths was unlikely, access and entitlement to food rather than its scarcity was a primary factor. There was no famine. Ireland was pro-Nazi in World War II. Now, this has all come from our solidarity with other people who we're watching in real time suffer a fucking genocide on our phones. Palestine. Ireland was exclusively and extensively pro-Allied in World War II. It violated neutrality in the Allies' favour completely across dozens of ways, any of which would have led to war with Germany if they had become known. 9% of the Irish population voluntarily joined the UK war effort. 0 went to Germany. The Irish state is the only neutral and exclusively aid. The Irish state is the only neutral to exclusively aid the Allies and openly criticise Nazi actions. Ireland had the lowest far-right uptake in Europe. Britain's MI5 said at the war's end, Ireland was of more use neutral. Before the Anglo-Norman arrival in Ireland, Ireland was not unified or coherent. Irish identity and island-wide culture formed from about 500 BC. No later than 500 AD, they had called themselves Irish, differentiated foreigners and shared an island-wide society and identity that worked as one on laws, language, religion, culture, origin, myths and legends. They even met up to compete in national inter-kingdom sports days. Many tribes, but one people. Ireland had the most advanced law system in Europe. This is the Braham. This is one of my fascinations. A restorative learned profession with divorce, animal welfare laws and rare execution. All island assemblies created laws like the Law of the Innocents in 697 AD that gave protection to women and children in times of war. Irish monasteries were a shining light amid Europe's dark ages, returning and advancing literacy and learning. A complex all-island society placed immense importance on culture. Claims of cannibalism and backwards barbarity were fabricated or exaggerated by Anglo-Normans propagandist Gerald of Wales to justify colonisation. And if you ever read his shit, I think I read some of it, not him, but it was a different guy. I've read some of his stuff before. Ireland Ireland has an inflated history of anti-Semitism / racism. Ireland has had the lowest levels of anti-Semitism in Europe since the first Jews arrived in the 11th century. 0 expulsions, no pogroms, no exclusions from government, societal rules. Ireland's most important politician, Daniel O'Connell, fought for Jewish rights in the 1800s. Ireland enshrined Jewish right of practice in its 1937 constitution, a unique action in an anti-Semitic age. Claims Ireland exclusively excluded Jews in World War II were false. All refugee entries were minimalised. Jews made up 20% of those left in, likely the largest cohort of a small number. Ireland has no history of large-scale organised racially motivated groups or state segregation. Of course, racism and anti-Semitism existed in Ireland as everywhere. Clearly. The IRA and its tactics represent all Irish. The Irish Republican Army fought a popular campaign for Irish independence, 1919 to 21, achieving partial independence for the country. Since then, the group's popularity waned as violent tactics were at odds with a desire for political advancement of Republican ideals. By World War II, the group had just 2,000 members from a population of 3 million and were deeply unpopular with the Irish public for their tactics. Many Irish remain Republicans and desirous of a united Ireland, but not by violent means. So, every word. And this is the shit that you hear whenever you go against Israel in particular, or you come up against an Americans and you tell them shut the fuck. This is some of the crap that you get. Irish America, I love you, I fucking do, I genuinely do, but you need to shut the fuck up. If you don't know what you're talking about, just shut the fuck up. You're not helping. But this, back to the top point, Ireland has, I'll repeat this, Ireland has seen a staggering amount of online interest and interference over the last 5 years, to the point it now has the world's highest external malicious bot traffic at 71% versus 35% in the United States, a country with 350 million people in it. We're sitting at 8, and we've got more traffic, bot traffic, than them. That's mental. So when you see all that Kulak says no shit, where are they getting this from? I had a very disturbing conversation with a friend of mine just a couple of weeks back, and I asked her that, where are you getting this from? And what she told me genuinely, I don't know, maybe I'll talk with you about it sometime, but it did disturb me. So, let me see if there's any more on there. No. Okay. There we go. So I'm going to leave that. So, that's my point. To put a pin in this, we all know that knife attack was horrific, and I do genuinely pray for that victim. Also pray for the mental health of the man that did it, because to me, you're clearly not functioning to do the likes of that. And I thank God that he's now off the streets and hopefully unable now to prosecute any more savagery, and that's what it was, on any other people. Man, woman, black, white, Catholic, Protestant, I don't care, and neither do you. And that's the way it should be. But the riots that followed were going to happen anyway. They happen here near enough every fucking summer. It's because they're going to go out and they're going to march and they're going to claim the roads as their own and the streets as their own, because this is what they used to do. And they would do these triumphalist pseudo-military marches through any area that they wanted. You do them all summer, and you can hear them. We hear them. We have to live with this shit. We hear that their bands practicing. The music is terrible, but we hear them practicing when they're getting ready. Seemingly they only practice it for about a month before before the marches happen, because they don't seem to practice for the rest of the year, because you don't hear them for the rest of the year. And that's what it is. And they're not Irish. They're British.